in business since 2004, right around then, give or take. We started out with about 3 employees and we're up to 25 now. Basically what we do is we're an MSP, full service help desk, network support, voice over IP, pretty much anything IT related. Our sweet spot really though is any business that's just not big enough to have their own IT, so they outsource to us. The growth of the company over the past, I'd say 10 years or so has been pretty significant. The internal growth, like I mentioned, was starting with 3 and up to 25 now, which fluctuates depending on the season. But from a client standpoint, we started with half a dozen clients and we're over 100 now. My traditional role is I'm an owner. I'm co-owner of the company, but my day-to-day role is more of I guess I would define myself as a CTO. I run the day-to-day on the IT side, the information technology side. I manage, the entire team, from my own managers to the desktop people, the network people, the help desk people, from the bottom to the top. And I make all the decisions based upon, for instance, what kind of new software we're going to be using to help our clients in the cybersecurity space. So the main services we offer are the MSP flavor. Number one, obviously, the first point of contact would be the help desk. We have a 12-hour help desk from 7 to 7, Monday through Friday, for all of our clients. Most of our clients are local, with the exception of a few, but for the most part, the tri-state area. And then we do have an emergency line, after hours. Critical emergencies get a response in 2 to 4 hours, and it sort of, goes down from there. If you're calling about your Outlook on a Saturday, you're probably not going to get help until Monday. Then beyond the help desk, we work with a bunch of different vendors for hosted services. So whether you want to host a server in the cloud, your phone's in the cloud, your email in the cloud, any kind of cloud-based services, we either offer directly or we offer through another vendor. And we work with our clients to make sure that we put together the right, plan for them. Aside from that, all desktop support, which is part of the help desk. Anything that gets escalated beyond the first phone call, usually it could be related to a hardware issue, so we'll dispatch technicians to site to sort of fix the problem. On top of that, also, we do network support. So we manage all of our clients' firewalls, their ISP, all network traffic. Some of the other things we also do is we make recommendations for applications. We make recommendations for upgrades, migrations. Truly a one-stop shop. And if there's something we can't do, we try to work with a vendor that we can, both have some common ground or both have a similar customer base, whether it's a security system, cameras, structured cabling. While we don't do that in-house just because we don't have the skill set and we don't have it's a lot of overhead, we do work with a bunch of different vendors. So at the end of the day, if you're coming to us and you have a technical need, even things like web design, marketing, SEO, we play in the entire space, and one way or another we'll be able to help you. So our ideal customer doesn't really matter. Industry doesn't really matter. We have healthcare, we have nonprofits, we have construction companies, CPA firms, doctors' offices. It makes no difference. Everything now, technology is a requirement, so that's a good thing. But we also look for organizations that don't already have an in-house IT, don't already have their own technology process. We like to come in and we like to sort of build that for them for a couple of reasons. One, then if we're able to streamline everything the way we do it, it just runs a lot smoother. And the other thing is we don't want to butt heads with the pre-existing IT presence, whatever that might look like. So when it came to the Zero Trust security solution, it happened pretty quickly. And what I mean by that is the cybersecurity itself became a very, very important thing pretty much overnight. it happened so fast where the threats were just coming. We were inundated with issues from all of our clients, whether it was ransomware, whether it was, things like spoofing or things like, malicious payloads in email or clicking on a bad link. There was sort of just something that really started to become a real problem for us. And what actually brought us into ThreatLocker or gave us the introduction into ThreatLocker, a couple of things happened. First, we used to be a client, well, we still technically are for a little bit, but our main remote management module was Kaseya. A couple of years back, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Kaseya actually was breached. During this time, they really had no idea what happened. And out of an abundance of caution, they made us turn off our VSA or our Kaseya server, which we hosted locally. Now, that caused a big problem for us because that's the only way we could host or support our clients. So this went on for a couple of weeks and it was a complete disaster. And cost us business, cost us, headaches. It was just a nightmare. At the end of the day, we were able to get it back up and running. Turns out we were never, vulnerable. The way we had our network set up, it couldn't be accessed. So we were a little upset about that. So what we decided to do was look around and see what else was out there. And we were put in touch with ConnectWise. Tom and I, who's my partner, we ended up going down to Florida to one of their seminars or I don't know what they call it, but it's a big event where they bring in all these different vendors and everyone hangs out and talks about their IT issues. And, you meet a lot of interesting people and you learn about a lot of cool things that are out there that you might not know about. And while I was down there, I ran into a couple of reps for ThreatLocker. They took me through the process and helped me understand exactly what the application did. And it really sounded great. So when we got back, just so happened, one of our biggest clients got hit with a unbelievably intrusive ransomware event that pretty much caused us to have to rebuild their entire environment. And it was a very large, we're talking probably 6 or 7 servers, 40 or 50 virtual machines. It was a disaster, 3 or 4 locations. So at that time, we decided, well, we can't go through this again because it's destroying us. Just the man hours alone, it's impossible to keep up. So that's when we decided at that point, hey, we need something that is pretty much not going to let anything run on a system unless it trusts it. And that's where ThreatLocker came into play. That's where we signed up with you guys. That's where we started, we actually used our client that got hacked as a test case. Because once we rebuilt the environment, we loaded ThreatLocker on all the workstations and just made sure that they were completely protected, among other things, to make sure, we cleaned up a bunch of stuff. But the real insidious thing about this particular ransomware event is that they ended up being targeted. What happened was we didn't even know if the backups were viable because the payload that was placed on the network was sitting dormant for God only knows how long. And the funny thing is, we already had a full cybersecurity solution set up with traffic monitoring, with, endpoint detection and response, all these things, and none of it worked. So that's when we decided to completely tear up everything we had, start completely fresh, build our own stack with things like Proofpoint Advanced, Sentinel-1 is part of it, ThreatLocker, obviously, all through ConnectWise. And we haven't looked back. A lot of the challenges we faced as an MSP is most of the businesses that we support are small businesses. And within those small businesses, there really isn't any sort of corporate IT policy. And what I mean by that, it's usually a free-for-all. You have certain people in the company that feel like, they can do whatever they want to do. They have seniority, they've been there forever. They want to browse whatever websites they want. They don't want to have to worry about any of that. They want to be able to download and install their own software. So to come in and say, hey, we're doing things completely different, we get a lot of pushback. That comes into place specifically when we're talking about people that have admin rights locally or admin rights on the network, and then they're able to download and click on and accept any type of payload, regardless of whether it's malicious or not, because they probably have no idea. So we were dealing with that all day long, whether it was through spoofing email attempts, whether it was through phishing attempts, whether it was through malicious links on the web, personal email, all that kind of thing. So we had plenty of issues where people were downloading, installing things that they shouldn't have, causing havoc on the network, causing ransomware events, people that were entrapped through various Office 365 scams, getting their password stolen, having rules set up so that they couldn't even see their own email, getting spoofed. So when we brought ThreatLocker in and we actually started to roll it out to more than just that initial client, we started to see a huge decline in the number of calls related to rogue software being installed or any sort of application running on a machine that's not supposed to, even things like PowerShell. Most important thing that we were looking at when it came to a security application like ThreatLocker was we needed to, because it's not possible for us to prevent all of our clients. We're talking about 100 different environments here with 100 different sets of rules. It's impossible for us to put together a uniform structure that we can set across the board because every industry is different, everyone has different needs, everyone operates differently. So we needed an application that we could trust to know if something was run on a machine, which was more than likely going to happen at some point, that was not expected or shouldn't be running, that there was a good chance it was going to be stopped. And to be honest, ThreatLocker was really the only application out there that fit that mold. You know, there's obviously you guys, I'm sure, are familiar with the industry and who your competitors are, but ThreatLocker was the one thing, the zero trust and the ring fencing and that whole thing that really was head and shoulders above all of the other applications that we looked at. At least from my perspective, it's to provide our end users, our clients, with peace of mind and make sure that not only are we allowing them to be able to perform their job and to do it safely and securely, but also that if they do make a mistake, if something does happen, we're going to be there to not only support them and to fix any sort of issue that they might have, but to hopefully prevent it from happening in the first place. I mean, the product itself really helps my team because it allows them to be proactive instead of reactive like we usually are with IT, where you're just putting out fires all day. With ThreatLocker, you can actually manage the threat levels of each one of your clients and manage the expectations as to what could be running on their network at any given time. Not only that, we're also able to see through the alerts we get, hey, who's trying to run what? What are they trying to do? Is it something that is, necessary? Is it something that they should be running, or is someone doing something they shouldn't be doing, or don't know they should be doing? So it really helps us not only keep track of each individual workstation, each individual server, wherever the agent's installed, but it also gives us an idea of exactly what's going on in the environment and who, for lack of a better word, are the problem employees, the problem users at the organizations, and then we can make sure that they are given a little bit of extra attention. Well, first off, I really think the dashboard for the ThreatLocker product is extremely intuitive, very easy to use, and really gives you a clear understanding of the assets you have throughout all of your clients. But I think my favorite part of it would be your ability to control anything that's run or installed on any specific endpoint. And through that, I like your ability to change to different modes, the learning mode, the installation mode, secure mode, all those things. So if I do need to isolate a specific workstation or device, I'm able to do it, I'm able to track it, I'm able to understand why I'm doing it. And if I have to go back and see, hey, this is what went on, we have a clear path as to what the entire process was. So I think, from my perspective, as the one that oversees everything that goes on here and doesn't really get too involved in the day-to-day, I'm not using this application every single minute like my guys are, but I like the part where I'm able to have a high-level overview of everything that went on and everything's documented. The support from ThreatLocker has been great. Anytime that we've had an issue, and in all honesty, when you roll out an application with this specific set of features, you're going to run into issues because there are certain things that are going to be blocked that shouldn't be, and you're going to really have to fine tune the product. And when you're talking about 100 different environments, that really could become an uphill battle. But the support has been just very consistent. So not only do we get those alerts when someone is trying to install something, and then we can use the cyber heroes, we leverage you guys to help us decide whether or not this is something we want to run. And if we don't, we're able to investigate as to why this user is trying to do it. If it's something that we should be allowed, we'll then add it to the allow list for the future so that we don't run into the issue. But beyond that, if we're running into a problem where it seems as though certain things are being blocked that shouldn't be, whether it's our backup solution, whether it's a hypervisor, whether it's, other antivirus software or EDRs like SentinelOne, you guys have been great in helping us understand as to why certain environments are giving us issues and, what to do to make sure we can remedy that and then spread that across all of our environments. ThreatLocker has been a pretty much the cornerstone piece of our own cybersecurity offering. So as far as building our business, it's actually been pretty dramatic. I would say right before ThreatLocker, and again, ThreatLocker is a piece of what our offering is. We do some other things too. But before ThreatLocker, we were using a third-party cybersecurity firm, and they were managing the SOC. They had the SIM in each location. They were managing the EDR. They were managing our email, all that. So we didn't have much control. Now, when we started to have issues, even with all that in place, we decided we had to tear everything up and start from scratch. And we decided to build our own stack internally, manage it ourselves, and leverage all these different vendors that we thought would be the best. ThreatLocker is one of the vendors that ended up making the final list on that stack, and it has been part of that going forward. So as far as helping the business, not only are you helping us keep our clients safer just with the technology and just, with sort of helping them avoid the pitfalls of any sort of issue on their system and things that they're clicking on or things that they shouldn't be doing, really protecting them from themselves in some cases. But even on top of that, we're able to roll in the application as an additional service that we can then bill, obviously. And, obviously the more agents that we deploy, the more we roll out, the more that's gonna help the bottom line. So I would say the biggest contribution that ThreatLocker has made to this company is you have given us a lot more time, man-hours than we've had before. And the reason is because the application itself has actually prevented a lot of disasters. Whereas if a environment is infiltrated and ransomware is deployed, or any kind of a virus that then needs to be addressed, whatever that might look like, whether it's a complete, disaster recovery, or it's just re-imaging one or two machines. The hours it takes for that kind of a process, I can't even, quantify, because we're talking multiple texts, multiple days, working around the clock, working overtime. And not only is that salary, requirements that need to be taken care of, not only is that billable hours that need to be added on to our client for project costs. And a bit of our own sanity, I guess, is, you could also throw in there. So all of that time that we save, because we were able to prevent a lot of these problems from happening in the first place, they really just help us in any number of ways. We have more time to work on projects. We have more time to explore other avenues for support. We have more time to liaise with other vendors and see what else is out there. We have more time to actually get in front of our clients, talk to them and see how they're doing, what their needs are, rather than constantly putting out fires that are unexpected. So we have seen a few things: reduction in ticket volume, reduction in the number of calls to the help desk for issues related to security. That's definite. And we have also seen, and this is the most important, is a large, almost 100% reduction in serious security events that are, had the possibility of crippling any one of the networks that we support. Our ransomware events have pretty much gone down to, I don't even want to say this because I get nervous, but they've pretty much gone down to zero. There are two different aspects of the productivity. One is the productivity of our clients. To be completely honest, I think the initial rollout, it takes a bit of time to get everyone comfortable with the application, how it works, what's it gonna do. We let it run in learning mode, probably depending on the size of the client, for a minimum of 2 weeks, sometimes for a full month. And then once we slip it into secure mode, we are, initially there are some false positives that we need to deal with. However, once we get beyond that, everything, productivity has gone up, not just for my guys to be able to focus on other things, but we've also prevented, major issues at all of our clients, which allowed them to, focus on whatever their business is. We have certainly seen an improvement in revenue, just based on the additional offerings we're able to provide to our clients. And once we sit them down and we explain to them why we're doing this, what it's going to cost, but what the cost savings is going to be if they're suddenly down for 2 weeks because of a ransomware event. And the price point is such that it really makes it a no-brainer. But the other thing we're also able to do, as by having ThreatLocker as one of the offerings in our stack, is we're then able to go out beyond our own client base and try and sell cybersecurity, our package, to potential clients, people that we don't even support. It's something that we can lead with when we are then trying to bring in new clients. So it's sort of been that on two levels there. It's been helping us. ThreatLocker has contributed to the success of the business in two ways. The first way, it has pretty much brought and I know I keep harping on ransomware, but to be honest, it really is the most corrosive, event that could possibly hit a network. And once it happens, it's a nightmare. It's untold hours, it's untold resources, it's untold money spent to try and put the pieces back together. So preventing it in the first place has been huge. And I can't stress enough how important, specifically for us, that has been. But the other good thing that ThreatLocker has done is it's allowed us as a company to build an offering for cybersecurity that really has made us very competitive, especially in our pool of, MSPs where we are locally. As far as I know, I don't know if our competitors, what they use really. The only way I know is when I go in to take over a client that they might have lost, but we are able to lead all of our sales meetings with security, and we break down our stack, exactly what we have, what we offer, what each one does. And like it or not, security is the number one concern of pretty much everyone nowadays. Yeah, they need support, they want a help desk, they want their network to run fast, they want help with their email, they want help with their applications, yes. But first and foremost, especially if we're talking about businesses that are regulated by HIPAA or by SEC or by FINRA, they automatically have to have certain metrics in place to safeguard their environment, their personal data, their sensitive information. And when we come in and we lead with our offering and what it does and how it protects them, it's something that stands out and is head and shoulders above our competition. We actually have a very specific goal for the next 3 months. We're in the process of purchasing our own building. So we're not going to be renting anymore, and we're going to be building out our own data center. Maybe that's a little too specific, but those are our goals over the next 3 to 6 months. Is we're going to be moving to a new location that we're going to own, and we're going to be able to customize it exactly how we want, have our own data center, part of our data center built into it. And from there, hopefully we'll be able to bring in some talent, start hiring a bit, and find the right people with the right skill set. On top of that, obviously, we want to keep growing our customer base. Going forward with ThreatLocker, we would like to make sure that we keep it as a staple in our cybersecurity offering. But we also want to make sure that we're able to fully explain to our clients exactly what it does and just let them know that, how it's going to be protecting them. And I think that the best way to describe what ThreatLocker does, and I'm going back to this, is it really sort of protects the end user from themselves. Because 9 times out of 10, someone is not looking to click on a malicious link or looking to download software that they shouldn't, or looking to install something they shouldn't. But it just happens because they're not paying attention or because they don't know any better. So ThreatLocker really helps protect them from, because if someone actually ends up going through with that, forget about the damage they cause in the environment, but they really do some damage to their own reputation too, because it's hard to recover from something like that. So when I can go in and I can sit down with everyone that or prospective clients, even my current clients, and then show them our offering and go through our whole stack and really harp on what ThreatLocker brings to the table and why it can help them and why it's such a great product. Not only does it give them peace of mind, but it also makes them feel as though that they found a competent company to work with, someone they can trust, and sort of, alleviate some of the concerns that they might have on the security front. I feel as though there's always more to a customer and a vendor relationship that can be explored. I would love to take advantage of some of the training that you guys offer. To be honest, time is always an issue. There's always never enough time in the day. There's always a million things going on. But I would like 2 things: take more advantage of training available for ThreatLocker so we can understand how the application works. So when we do run into a problem, when something gets blocked that shouldn't get blocked, we understand why and how to alleviate it. The other thing is I would like my staff to also have that capability, to become much more well-versed with the product, so that we understand how it works, we understand what we're looking at and what we're dealing with, and how it's rolled out in all our different environments, and make sure each one is protected the proper way, and make sure we have the right policy set up. So I think a deeper understanding on the application itself, make sure that we're using it to its full extent, is definitely something that I want to work on in the new year. I would absolutely recommend ThreatLocker to our competitors, peers, whoever really needs it, and whoever feels as though that they want to safeguard against potential security threats in their environment. Like I said, it has done a great service to us, just in the aspect of preventing our clients from wrecking their own infrastructure by accident. When we're able to sort of get an overview of what everyone's doing on a day-to-day basis, what they're running on their machines, and we feel very confident that the image that we've designed and rolled out to each one of our clients and each one of their environments, we know that it's locked down, and that with ThreatLocker in place, we know what's running, and we know what's if something else tries to run, we're going to know about it. So that kind of peace of mind really helps us in the long run, providing the best level of support.